All right, three. Welcome to this edition of The Bigger Game, from surviving to thriving. Today we're with Chris Dawson from Byte 7. He is part of the genius that is Byte 7. And Chris, I'm going to give you a chance to tell us what that actually means.
Yeah. Well, what I do is help business leaders create the conditions that their people need to do great work and work great together. And to tease that out just a little bit more, your business is your people have needs. We've identified the 7 that we believe are most important for people to have met in order to do great work, love doing that work, and be great teammates. So we measure how well an organization's culture meets those needs, see where it's strong, see where it's weak, and then we help them fix the parts that are broken.
So you're the culture people.
I am the coach of people. I have long been the coach. I've been a coach my whole adult life.
Okay.
Yeah.
The culture people. Culture
People. I thought you said you are the coach of people. We are the culture.
I got that right.
And I am also the coach of people. Yes. Yes. Yes.
So you're on the bigger game today. Thanks for taking the time to be with us. The bigger game for me is all about being my better self, being my higher self in the face of challenges, in the face of successes, right? All of that, right? So what is your version of what is your definition, or what do you, when you think about the bigger game, what does it mean to you?
Well, I would start by saying that is probably the most important thing that all of us are, I would argue, obligated to do in our lives, which is be the best version of ourselves that we can be in order to, serve the people around us and make the world a better place. As cliche as that may sound, it's true. And so I think my definition of the bigger game is probably similar to yours. Like, that is the game. Everything else is a game within that game.
Excellent. So when you take your experience with culture and what you guys do at Byte 7, and you kind of map it to the bigger game, right, in the context of the bigger game,
yeah.
Is there anything you want to share about yourself, your work, anything that would kind of give us a takeaway from all of that, from your view, from culture, and from Byte 7 and your experiences?
Yeah. I mean, so I work with leadership teams, right? Day in and day out. Those are the people that I coach and do Byte 7 with. And I believe really strongly that leadership is a privilege, right? Like, it is a platform to not only play the bigger game, but play it in a way that positively, that positively impacts lots of other people. That's what being a leader is all about. So, what I like to try to do is equip those people with tools and systems and processes and best practices, so they can be the best leaders they can be. That's a really important job.
So take us a little deeper than that. What are some nuggets that we can take away from that?
Nuggets, right? Well, I mean, there are a lot here, but basically, I think, when you get to a position where you're managing other people, whether that's like, store manager, regional manager, vice president, CEO, if there are other people who report to you, count on you, work for you, the results that you're providing for the organization are coming through those people, right? Like, you're doing your work. You're accomplishing the mission of your organization. You're serving your customers and clients. You're doing you're making your impact through other people. And in order to do that, you have to be in right relation to those people. You have to be taking care of those people. You have to be, providing them with everything they need to do a great job, or else you are not doing your end of the bargain.
So take us down further than that. So what are some things that I want to be focused on?
Yeah. So I'll get into the specifics of what we do, just not in too much detail, but we believe, right, in order to thrive in any organization, as a member of any kind of team, you have to kind of meet 7 conditions, right? You have to belong, believe, you have to be accountable, well measured, heard, developed, and balanced. So we define each of those things and we look at, how well is that leader, how well is the culture they've created, which should be undergirded by some sort of sound systems, meeting those needs, right? So, I mean, let's just take the first one we don't have to go all the way down the list. The first one's really important. It's the most important, right? I think after food and shelter, humans' most basic need is to belong to a group, right? If you go back to our caveman days, if the group decided to kick you out, like you would die. You were going to freeze to death, starve to death, get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, whatever it was. And that's still deeply, deeply ingrained in us, like to always be kind of scanning the environment. Like, do I fit in here? Do I belong here? And so I think a leader's most important job is to make sure people feel like they belong, right? And that there's a lot that goes into that. We focus for that particular need, we focus on being really, really clear about what the values are of this group so that people can decide whether their values align with the group's value. Like, is this the group I want to belong in? And then once I decide, yes, this is my group, then, or I should say, once this person, right? Like if I'm the boss, once this person decides that this is the group for them, then I need to make sure that now that they're one of us, I'm taking care of them, right? I'm keeping things clear for them. They know exactly what they're accountable for in each of their roles. They're being well measured. I'm thinking about their development and their progress and opportunities for them to grow. I'm listening to them. I'm doing all those things I need to do so that they feel really strongly that they belong. If you don't feel like you belong in a group, it's really hard to thrive in that group.
So it sounds like it's because it's very important for me as an organization or as a committee or as a leadership team or as a volunteer organization, wherever I happen to be a part of a group, that the group really understand what their values are and what their missions are and what they're as they go forward and do whatever they're trying to accomplish. And then as they bring new people into that team or hire people or whatever the case may be, that those people also share the same values or they don't, right? And it's very clear whether that's a good fit or not a good fit.
Yeah.
So it seems like almost you're basing the Terra organization on alignment on values and other cultural type of situations. Tell us more about culture.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different ways to define culture. I think ultimately maybe the easiest way to define it is like, this is the way we do things around here. And you can have a group that does incredible things because the way we do things around here is really, really sound and really good. Or you can have a group that's a complete dumpster fire because the way we do things around here sucks. Right. So to me, culture is everything, right? It starts and ends with culture. And you've got to, obviously there's a million other things that are going to determine whether or not your organization, whether that's a business or a team, like whether it thrives and wins. But you can't do any of those other things if you don't have a strong culture in place first, right? You got to do things the right way and in a way that honors everyone in the group.
So can you maybe there's a case study or a story, a turnaround story or something personal about whatever, or maybe something else that you could share that would give us an example of that, like real world type stuff or something?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I mean, one of my first clients was a manufacturing company, about 300 employees. And we ran the survey for them to see how well they're meeting these 7 needs. And we were able to look at the results in terms of departments. And what we found is that they were meeting the needs of the people in the office, people that were doing the sales and finance and marketing pretty well. Like those people were connected. They literally shared an office together. They could talk to each other. They communicated well. Where they were really missing the mark was with the 250 of their 300 team members who didn't work in the office. They worked on the floor of this manufacturing plant. They didn't feel heard. They did not believe that the decisions the leadership was making were sound decisions. There was a lot of confusion and fear around, or maybe fear is not the right word, but certainly doubt around, like, do these people know what the hell they're doing? Because it often seems to us, the people who are actually like putting these widgets together, that their decisions don't make a lot of sense. And so we had to really think about, well, how do we do a better job of like bridging this divide between the office and the manufacturing team? And we decided that we needed to give those folks more opportunities to share issues and come up with solutions. And there wasn't like a regular meeting structure for them. The way, those folks in the office were in weekly scheduled meetings where they could solve problems, and the guys and gals on the factory floor were not. So we were like, well, how do we create daily, weekly opportunities for them to be heard, right? And to share their problems, and to even give them more ownership in solving those problems. So that's what we did. This plan took a while to implement, right? They had to figure out, well, like, what are the actual logistics of getting these people into a meeting? And it wasn't going to happen in a conference room. Clearly, it was like, ultimately what we decided is like, let's start having stand-up meetings at the beginning of every shift that each supervisor has with their team, that establishes like, hey, here's the priorities for the day. Here's some things to think about. What issues do you have? Does anybody have any questions? Does anybody have any issues that need to be raised, problems that needs to be solved? And as they started doing that on a regular basis, man, when we surveyed again later, one of the specific questions is, are you heard? And that score went through the roof. It made huge strides right away. And that's big, right? Like, everyone needs to be heard. We have a very deep desire to be like seen and known and heard. That's critical to all humans. But on a more practical level, they started solving a lot more problems, right? When you give people an opportunity to regularly and in a structured way share issues, and then have processes and procedures for solving those issues, makes everyone better, makes the whole company better. So that's
were there any results from the bottom line, or any tension or anything else you could speak to that came out of that?
Yeah, I mean, most of the result, like, we're a pretty small outfit. We're not tracking. We don't collect that kind of data from our clients. Like, they're not sending us their P&L sheets so that we can see how revenue is increasing, or
but maybe some anecdotal.
It's just all anecdotal, right? So it's based on what the proof in the pudding for us is the scores, because we're going to survey again roughly every 6 months. Are the scores improving? And then what are people saying in the comments, right? Like, especially a company of that size, you're getting a lot of really rich feedback. And how is that feedback changing over time?
Excellent. They've given you feedback regarding the management team's satisfaction with the work, or what they really get out of it themselves, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm talking a lot to the leadership team, and I mean, that's how we kind of kick off. Anytime we have a meeting with them, it starts with just like, hey, what's going on recently? Good, bad, ugly, like how are things? And that's where I get a sense for, like, people are thrilled that, or not, right? It's not always like a party, but what I've found, right, is we're going to come up with a plan. And this is going to answer the question you just asked, but when we come up with a really good plan to solve one of the problems that the survey brings to the surface, if we execute that plan consistently and we communicate with everyone in the organization, like, hey, we're making this change because you asked us to, this is solving a problem that you brought to our attention, and you're constantly reinforcing that link between like, this is the change and it's because you asked us to solve a problem, you're going to get great results. And it's going to make the folks on the leadership team feel a lot better about, how things are going, and they're going to feel better about their own performance as leaders within the company. So I hear a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about everybody pulling the same direction and everybody excited to come to work. And I mean, that energy, I think itself shifts the entire operation. But then
100%.
And also then what the client's experience, the level of customer service goes up. Probably, sales guys are out there, ladies are out there doing much more robust, passionate job, right? So I think it rolls all the way through the enterprise, I think.
Yeah. All these things
that's phenomenal stuff.
Yeah. Everything's connected. And it's either like a virtuous cycle where everything's building on each other in the right direction, or it's going the other way. You're either going one way or the other, and it all is connected. So you want it to be a loop where, what each individual is doing and what each department is doing is making life easier and better for the other departments and their other team members. And you have to train people to think that way. A lot of organizations, like, people are completely siloed. They don't understand how their job contributes to the bigger picture, or how their department works with other departments. And so I think one of the really important things that good leaders do is they explain, like, hey, this is how you personally fit into the bigger picture. This is how your department fits into the bigger picture. And that's why it is critical that you do a great job in your role, because it really matters.
Yeah, I think it, like if I were to give it back to you, it's almost like there's a mason building a wall, right? Mm-hmm. And you ask him, he says, yeah, I'm building a wall. Or he says, yeah, I'm building a cathedral, right?
Yeah.
It's a night and day difference. And I think you're speaking about the cathedral conversation.
Absolutely.
Instead of any organization that you bring to the table. And then we all get to be aware of. So I think that is huge, right? Everyone rowing in the same direction and inside the bigger vision. Like, my experience in my own coaching practice is that many times people have smaller visions and they're capable of a lot more. And so what happens is a lot of times the little bumps and bruises along the way, this person stepped on my toes, or this happened or that happened, I think, become amplified because the vision's so small, right? When the vision's that huge and so big and I'm focused on that, then all these little bumps and bruises I don't even think about, because we're all working together to chase that bigger dream, right? That bigger vision. Yeah. So I think that's and I think that's what Bite 7 you've been sharing this whole time is about what Bite 7 delivers. So I think that bigger vision, the culture people, I think that's fantastic. Are there any takeaways you want us to take away from this conversation? Any last thoughts you want us to walk away with?
Yeah, I mean, I just build on what the last thing you said was, that your perspective really matters, and the way that you frame the work you're doing really matters. And, you talked about the bigger game. Everybody wants to have an impact, right? I think everybody wants to have a positive impact. A lot of people aren't consistently having a positive impact because of all number of reasons. But I do think when you get people to, right, like, I know you're big on intention, right? Be really intentional about what is the impact you want to have. What is the difference you're trying to make, and keeping that front and center. It allows you to put a lot of those other daily frustrations in perspective.
I'm reminded of that Hall of Fame speech that's all over the internet now, right? You're either an elevator or an anchor, and there's no neutral, right? So I love that speech. I love what he said there. It was very much.
I haven't seen that speech, but I'm gonna go Google it as soon as we get off this call.
Oh, he honors his family.
Yeah.
And he, it's like, I think one of the quotes in there is something about, if all they remember is this jacket, right, then I feel as a father, as a husband, as all this stuff, a friend, right? It was really a great speech. But inside of that, one of the things he says is either you're an elevator or you're an anchor. You're pulling people up or you're pulling people down. And it's like what you said, right? And I guess when the values match, we're all elevators for each other. And when they don't match, no fault of our own, and it's not like anyone's to blame. However, when the values don't match or the vision doesn't match, then there's a lot of anchoring going on, which isn't really helping. So that's fantastic.
No,
I love that. People may want to reach out to you and learn more about, kind of your thoughts and kind of expand on some of these things you talked about today. How do they reach you?
Yeah, I guess email is the easiest way. Chris, CHRIS at bite7.com, BITE, and the number 7.com. I'm on LinkedIn. We have a website, bite7.com, which will you can find me pretty easily or connect with me pretty easily through the website. So any of those ways are fine.
That's fantastic. Chris, thanks for your time today. I appreciate you being on and sharing some wisdom around culture and organizations and how we can all be elevators.
Absolutely. Abizer, I appreciate you having me. It was fun.
Have a great day.
You too.